Hello and welcome to the, what month are we? February 2024 edition of the Philmont Trek Talk monthly question and answer session, the Q&A session. We have a distinguished panel for you this week. We're going to talk about some really interesting things that hopefully are timely and valuable and will help you have the absolute best trek possible. That is the goal of the Philmont Trek Talk group, which check the description to this video if you're not familiar with that group. If you stumbled on us in the podcast world or on YouTube or one of the other video platforms and you didn't know, we actually have a group on Facebook, Philmont Trek Talk Tips something. It's a really long name. It's obnoxious. If you search Philmont Trek Talk, you'll find us, or go look for the link in the video description, and that'll bring you to the group. We got a little over 19,000 members, which is amazing. I think it's a testament to the rest of the panel and some of the other people that help in the group, because if it was just me, I'd have run off everyone years ago. But at this point, yes, I see you, Mr. T there. But we've got about 19,000. I was going to say he took the video off so he wouldn't incriminate himself. So we got about 19,000 folks in that group, and lots of helpful information gets traded and passed around every single day of the year to help people have their best experience at Philmont. This month, we're going to talk about two things primarily. Number one, we're going to talk about trek selection at Philmont. So some last minute tips, questions, depends on if anyone has any questions, feel free to submit those. If you're coming through the Facebook group, please visit streamyard.com/Facebook and give it permission to tell us who you are. Otherwise, you'll come through as the absolute single greatest commenter in the history of this program, and that would be Facebook user, and we won't know who you are. So please give StreamYard permission to tell us who you are, and get your questions ready so that you can ask those along the way and keep things a bit more interesting. So now we'll go around the horn. Introductions. I'm Jeff. I am very thankfully, for at least from my ship's perspective, the former skipper of Sea Scout Ship 4019 in Burlington, North Carolina. I have stepped back to be a mate, which is like an assistant scoutmaster, and basically be the guy who fixes the boats and teaches people how to sail. So that is part of my scouting background. And I've been to Philmont once as a youth, 3 times as an adult, twice as a free agent with people that I didn't know when I hit the trail. So some interesting experience there that pales in comparison to Mr. Tadsen, Mr. T over here. So would you please introduce yourself?
Yes, Darrel Tadsen, Greater St. Louis Area Council. Have led several council contingents, hiked the trails of Philmont multiple times. Enjoyed them, loved them. Have a passion for the place. As they say, it gets in your blood. Yeah, it is. And love to share the experiences and the knowledge that I've acquired, and hope we can help anybody in the audience out there improve their experience at Philmont. Dropping down to Rob.
All right. Rob Smith. I'm also from the Greater St. Louis Area Council, but I'm on the other side of the river from Darrel. I'm with Troop 85 in O'Fallon, Illinois. I serve as the High Adventure Chair and whatever else they need. Also, I'm the purveyor of highadventurescouting.com, where highlights mostly council-based and independent activities outside of the traditional BSA high adventure bases. So, all right.
And I guess it's me.
Yeah.
Sal Porto, Assistant Scoutmaster, Troop 212, Lutz, Florida. Also, Greater Tampa Bay Area Council advisor for Philmont. Going on my 9th trek this year, so hopefully we'll see some of you guys on the trek.
All right, thanks everyone for being here. And again, this is intended to be a participatory program. So especially the section where we're talking about trek selection, that's probably going to be more useful if folks who have questions ask questions using the comment function for whatever platform you're on. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. Oh, we are actually on X or Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days, and Odyssey and Rumble. See, we are all over the place. So on any of those platforms, I suspect you may be able to ask some questions. Actually, some of those platforms may not push them through to StreamYard, which is what we're using to manage this discussion. So if you ask questions and we don't acknowledge them and you're on one of those like Odyssey or Rumble, then maybe go hit the Facebook group or YouTube, the Gear Report Camping channel on YouTube, and that will pass the comments through to us so that we can see what's going on. Let's put the ticker on the screen here. Oh, that's the wrong ticker. That's for, or is it? This Week Gear Report. That's the wrong one. All right, let me change. We have a banner for this program. That was the This Week at Gear Report banner, which happens every Thursday. And this one gives you the information about our group. It is the official home of Team No Chair. Okay, we do this every month on the second Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So let's dive into that first topic about trek selection. Darrel, do you want to give your announcements before we dig into that?
Yeah, maybe let the people get comfortable with it, but there are a couple of announcements. We kind of do this. We query Philmont a little before our Tuesday night, and do they have anything that they would like to, specifically point out or push? And I do have a couple of things. Registration says that final payments are due March 1 for the 2024 treks. Trek selection through the, can't think of it, the Gateway are to be done and in before 9 a.m. on Friday the 16th. So your deadline is approaching. The Tooth of Time Traders, the TOT, would like us to mention the backpacking or backpack kits that they have available. They have 3 different varieties, a backpack, a sleeping bag, and a pad, I believe, are in the 3. And it is a significant discount if you buy the package. Ashley has said that she's also received a ton of questions concerning the custom t-shirts. Philmont will have their own prep seminar this coming Thursday at 6:30 Mountain Time, and she will have a full presentation on that, the custom t-shirts, how to order them, all of the artwork that's going to be available, and so forth. With a smiley face, she goes on and said, yes, they have fuel. They have all kinds, and it will be in the backcountry commissaries, particularly wherever you pick up food. You'll be able to pick up fuel, both isobutane canisters and liquid white gas. The other thing she said is they're receiving a lot of questions concerning payments. They take all the standard credit cards, Apple Pay, she mentions, and so forth. They also have gift certificates, and they also have the ability this year that if Scout shows up at the trading post, doesn't have sufficient funds, your Scout can contact his parents, and they will email a coupon or a gift certificate immediately to the parents, and they can then cover the transaction that the Scout is trying to make. So they have a lot of opportunities there. Oh, the other thing is they are going to have in stock t-shirts with all of the itineraries on the back. Not all 35 on the back of one shirt, but they will have shirts for treks 1, 2, 3. Last year they only had 12-day, or not 12-day. They only had the 9 and 7-day. This year they will have the 12-day treks. So if you look at 35 T-shirts in the various sizes available, they made a significant investment in inventory. So those are some of the basic comments that they asked us to pass along and emphasize. The big one in my mind is the final payments due March 1, and your truck selections need to be in before 9 a.m. this Friday.
That was a lot of very valuable information. Thank you so much for being our official interface. It's nice to have someone here. Do you need something, Rob? Okay.
It's yours. Take it away.
No.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Trying to figure out how to point to.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's confusing. It's for anyone who doesn't know, if you hadn't been on one of these, you think like if I want to point at Darrel, he looks like he's that way when I'm looking at the screen, but he's actually that way. So you just have to point the opposite direction. It's confusing. It is. Okay.
And we're confusing enough, so
Yeah. We're gonna mention that. Oh, and I thought of something while you were talking, and then I got distracted.
One other thing, Philip Ferrier is still taking applications for seasonal employment. Go to the webpage under employment and fill out your resume.
Excellent. Right. So I will remind people, please don't cause drama in our Facebook group. I'm in the process of removing 1, maybe 2 people from the group for causing some very unnecessary drama the last few days. So it's actually what distracted me when Darrel started talking, as I saw another needless drama comment pop up. So that's going to get removed. And the person who made it is going to be removed from the group because we don't have time for drama. We've got almost 20,000 people. If we let people come in and cause unnecessary drama every day, then it's going to be an unworkable group. So yeah, the band hammer is going to be swung here shortly. But I know what I was going to talk about was you mentioned the backpack kits that the To the Time traders put together. I've got some pretty significant concerns about one of the backpacks that only has a 30-pound weight limit. I don't know many ultralight people who go on a Philmont trek that are at 30 pounds. So I've got real concerns about that. And I would advise people, as much as I love ultralight packs, and I do, as much as I love them, and I've taken an ultralight pack on the last 3 treks, I've had enough issues and failures because of the weight carrying capacity. When we had people go down on the trail and we had to take their gear. I mean, think about it. It's not the people who are carrying ultralight gear that are most likely to have an issue on the trail. It's the people who aren't used to backpacking, have all the wrong stuff, and are carrying twice as much as they should. So when they go down, you got to have room and weight carrying capacity as a crew to be able to absorb all their gear. And you're not going to have that if you have an ultralight pack and you're already at the max limit. So I have real concerns about I think the Granite Gear Crown 2 pack that they put on their list is a good pack, but unless you're leaving base camp at like 20 pounds, which isn't really realistic with the Philmont packing list, then I think it's too dangerous to take something with that kind of capacity. So think about that before you commit to a pack with a low weight carrying capacity.
Yeah, I believe I took a quick look. They have 3 different options.
Sure.
Yeah. So
yeah, and they call that the advanced, but I mean, I consider myself somewhat of an advanced backpacker, and I've carried a pack with a 30-pound limit on 3 treks. And I've come to the conclusion the risk is just too great. It's not worth it. And I mean, if someone with my experience has come to that conclusion, the various, most people who go on Philmont treks don't have a ton of backpacking experience. I think that's just, it's too low of a weight bearing expectation for a pack for their audience there at Philmont. But anyhow, I'm sure they know what they're doing as well. But it made me nervous when I saw that. So let's put some things on the screen real quick. We talked about our group. Here's the group, and I'll drop the link out there for anyone who is not aware of how to find it. And I also wanted to mention that up here in the featured section, we have the Philmont 2024 Trek openings, which supplements what Philmont has made available through the Gateway now as a means of, you can go in and I guess if you have a crew, if you're the lead advisor for a crew or the person who has the reservation responsibilities, then you can go into the Gateway. I don't remember if you can get in otherwise, but you can actually find people who are looking for crew. They have crew openings, I guess. If that doesn't work for you, we have another means through this. I was hoping to not have to create another one, that Philmont's tool through the portal would be enough that people weren't using the one that we had for this year, the one for the summer 2024 treks, but people were starting to post things for next year already. So I went ahead and created the Philmont 2025 trek openings, and we've got a couple posts in here already. So just be aware that up in that featured post section at the top is where we've got a variety of things like that. So anyhow, I wanted to be sure people knew about that. So why is that up here? Trek selection. Let's talk about that. Based on the calendar, when does the trek selection get nailed down, guys?
Friday.
So at the end of this week?
End of this week, you need to have your 6, 7, or whatever you're working in, the 12, 9, or 7 day. You need to have your complement of itinerary choices by priority in prior to 9 a.m. on Friday the 16th. After that, they'll close the portal for a very short period of time and then run the program. From past experience, once they close that portal and start running the program, it'll probably be like 15, 20 minutes and you'll have an email back identifying, what selection has been selected for you.
Sure. Awesome. That's exciting. So I think at this point, we're going to assume that people have already figured out how to make their selections, and we're not going to go through the entire process of working with your crew. If anyone has any specific questions, like you're going through the process and maybe you hadn't figured it out, please let us know. But barring any specific questions, I don't think we're planning on going through step by step everything that we recommend for how to poll your crew to figure out what your first, second, third choices are to submit. So from a functional standpoint, because I've never been a lead advisor. I've never been the one going into the Gateway and putting these things in. What do people need to know? Like, can you think of any common mistakes or things that get messed up that we want to tell people about so that as they're going through these final steps of the process? I think you're pointing at Sal there.
Yeah, because once you put your top 6 in, it kind of lists them for you, and then it gives you one more chance to change them. Even if you did them today and your crew all of a sudden, hey, I want to change them, you could go back and change them as long as you do them before Friday, I think 9 a.m. Philmont time.
Right.
You can go edit anytime you want to. You can rearrange them anytime you want to, but once the 9 a.m. Philmont time Friday, it stops.
So that's a really good point, though. So is it safe to infer from that you're suggesting don't wait until Friday morning to put them in? Just go ahead and put them in,
Right.
and you can change it. But if something happens to you between now and then, at least you had something in the system.
Correct. And
yeah, it's pretty straightforward. That's the only thing they're asking you is, you're a 12-day itinerary. What is your first choice? I don't know if you have to put in 12-1 or if you just put in 1.
Jeff, is there a way you can let me see it and I can pop mine up real quick?
See
The
what?
gateway? My gateway.
If you share it from your computer. So do you see at the bottom of your screen, it'll
Settings?
something beside the one just to the right of setting. All right. It says present.
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 Yeah. If you
Present,
click on
okay.
that, click on present
And
and
while
then do share screen.
Gotcha.
And then you can do a tab in your browser. You can do
Yep,
a
I got
window
it.
or you can
Here
do
it
the
comes.
entire screen.
Is that
All
it
right.
right there?
There it is. So let me cancel what I was doing and then add to stage. And I'm going to see if I can put us down at the bottom to make that bigger. There we go.
Yeah, and it's pretty straightforward. The only thing you're doing at this
Yeah.
point is entering your itinerary in the order of your priority. What is my first choice, second choice? There's nothing else they're asking for at this time.
Can you click on edit your priorities so people can see what that looks like?
Yeah, if
I'm not asking you to change
If
anything.
you don't want it,
change-
don't put it
yeah.
on there because you
Just
probably
to
get
show
that
it.
one.
Yeah.
And
If I hit, if I all of a sudden wanted to change it, I could hit edit and it would go back to the original part and I could rearrange them
Mhm.
or
and the
change the numbers.
And to Rob's point, while the high majority of people get their first choice, do not be, what do I want to say, sloppy. Do
Yes.
not be sloppy about your fourth, fifth, and sixth choice because you could end up hiking it.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, there's a question that says 9 a.m. Mountain Time. Yes, Norm, 9 a.m. Mountain Time. So
Yep.
Philmont time. So if it's East Coast, it's 11 a.m.
Good.
Yes, it is, Norm.
I imagine the new process is better for everyone involved. I mean, I can imagine what they had to go through with the paper before. Whew.
Well, way back in the dark ages, we actually had to. We received with the Trek book where the itineraries were listed. We received a postcard, and we had to mail it back.
Wow.
And back in the
A stone tablet postcard?
not that bad, but Philmont is far enough away that at that time FedEx and UPS did not do next day, so everybody was scrambling to run to the post office at 8 o'clock in the morning to get it postmarked and in the mail as soon as possible.
It's amazing.
Oh,
The
man.
moment you said FedEx, Scott O'Mary shows up.
There you go.
On time.
Yeah.
No, he's late. That's a FedEx thing.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
He doesn't appear broken.
Well, but Scott's sitting right next to a U.S. Post Office guy.
yep.
So,
Okay, so
but
that's how it looks on your itinerary screen. So if I hit edit your program, it would go to another screen. I could add new ones to it. I don't want to do it because I don't want to mess it
You
up.
don't want to show us that?
Sure, here you go. There, that's what it looks like. See how it
wow.
says?
Okay, that's neat. See, I'd never seen this before.
Yeah, see, so there's my things. It says I can remove anybody or not.
Oh,
Pretty
that's
See?
slick.
cool.
yeah,
So when you
that's
click on one, it lets you pick what number it is or what?
Yes, yeah, yep.
I got to practice twice before we actually got to do it for real.
So there's our numbers. So I'm gonna hit save and continue, and because I don't want to mess up my cruise numbers.
Oh, hold on. I didn't mean to. Let me put that back. There we go. I wanted to see where you clicked save and continue.
It's at the bottom,
At the
bottom
bottom.
right hand corner. Yeah, bottom right hand corner.
and this selection process is open to only two people: the lead advisor, and if they are a part of a contingent, the contingent advisor has access. But it's strictly the crew adult advisor.
Yeah, the senior adult. So I got it for my crew. I can't see anybody else's.
So, Darrel, it's been a while since I've been here. Does not the reservation contact have access to this if that is not the same
Well,
person as the
the
advisor?
yes, excuse me, I missed, the reservation contact, which
Yeah.
in my case, I'm the reservation contact for the contingent.
Got it. Okay.
So I have rights to edit, modify. I can go in and clean up, things, both the itinerary selection, and I can modify the roster. If I notice a name is spelled wrong or an address is wrong or whatever.
Right. Good. Okay. Well, Sal, thank you for sharing that with us. I had not seen that before, so that's helpful. Very helpful. Hopefully, no one that is new to this process will have any issues. But if they were on track to have some issues, hopefully that helped them out.
While we're there, I'd like to mention also that as far as your crew roster, that needs to be finalized 30 days prior to your arrival, depending upon your expedition number and so forth. If you add a person to the roster under 30 days before your arrival, there is a $150 surcharge for that person. So make sure your roster is finalized 30 days before your arrival.
All right. Yeah, last time I went, I was added 3 days before arrival, so there was a surcharge.
As there should be for you, Mr. Kress.
And it was 150. You said I got my extra $150 worth out of the swap boxes.
Wow.
Well, they realized who it was and they tried to double it, but
yeah. Okay, so anything else that we want to share with people to help them with the process of completing those trek selection processes by Friday morning?
Hopefully, most of your crews should have the top 6 in by now.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't.
If
it doesn't matter if you wait.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, it doesn't wait. I mean, it doesn't matter when you put them in, first, last, second. If you put them today, tomorrow, next day, but I would say get them in as soon as you possibly can. That way, just you don't forget or something happens on Friday.
Yeah, well, you never know when you're going to have technical difficulties, right? Like before we started this broadcast, I had technical difficulties, had to reboot the computer right before we started. I'd hate for someone to go, well, all right, we got it sorted out. I just got to get them in by tomorrow morning. And they get up tomorrow morning and their computer won't start, or the power's out, or the neighbor cut the cable that feeds their, who knows what could happen. Don't put yourself in that situation. Get something in there and you can edit it but anytime up until they shut it off.
I was just going to say, if you're looking at 2025, download the ones from this year and have your crew start looking at that now, or, well, maybe not this early, but much earlier than when they come out, so they at least have an idea what's on the treks coming up.
All right, so we've got a comment.
That's true.
It says it's from Facebook user, but I can tell you through ESP or some other means that it's actually Matt Hart, who works at Philmont. Okay. A common call at headquarters is about sister crews.
Yeah.
And they're only on 12-day treks. So
they're only on 12-day treks. Personally, I think, you got to have some pretty good reasons why you want to be a sister crew. It really does challenge your ability to get your first and second choice when you declare as a sister crew. That's my personal opinion. so forth. I think your chances would be better if you went in singularly, and identified just one that you did not want to be a sister crew. And in all practicality, the two sister crews operated almost independently anyways.
Yeah.
The only thing they really do is stay in the same camp, but not even the same campsite.
Right.
So
let's split hairs a little bit on sister crews. There's the sister crew going in. Hey, I want crew 1, 2, 3 to be my sister crew, and that really limits your ability to get the itinerary you want. Versus almost everybody has a sister crew that is maybe at random. You happen to be on the same track.
I think when I talk about it, I try to be specific in what I name it. A sister crew is someone who has declared, I really want to be with.
Okay.
Philmont allows two crews to hike the same itinerary. They could be from California and New York, never met, never seen anybody. I don't really say that's a sister crew as such.
What do you call that?
It's more, we happen to end up with the same itinerary.
Yeah, your sister crew is your next door neighbor you're hiking next to. Hey, hi neighbor, how you doing?
Right.
Yeah.
If something goes on, if you need anything, come get me. Or if we need something, we'll come get you. Wave to him in the morning as you
There have
walk
been
out.
certain scenarios though where that yet to be named crew that's on the same trail does come into play and does potentially impact or help your crew. I've run into those situations before. That's why I was scrambling for a name, what to call it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've done it too. I've had a sister crew help me out one time. I mean, they were from California, we're from Florida, but we were sister crews and we had an issue and he helped us out. So they helped us out. So be nice to your sister crew. Wave to them, say good morning.
Yeah. And,
unless it's with Robin and ignore them.
And they may end up helping you out in some kind of an emergency situation if somebody has to come off the trail.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone expect that they'll be changed to sibling crews soon?
I don't even want to get into that.
Yeah, I expect it'll happen. I'll give it a year or two and it'll happen. Or cousin crews, something that doesn't imply a gender or whatever we call it these days. I don't even know. So I've already said too much. So let's see. Why don't we move on then? If no one has any more questions about getting the final trek selections in, we got about 27 and a half minutes left in our allotted hour. So let's move on to time management on the trail. And for that, I'm going to steal part of the screen again. Let's see. We'll go back there. And let's see if I click share. I mumble through this process so that you know what the awkward pause is while I'm getting things arranged. What I want to show you, and I will share in the comments discussion area, are links to 3 different articles written by, you weren't Mardi Gras King this year, were you, Scott?
I was not Mardi Gras King.
I was going to say it was written by the Mardi Gras King, but not this year. So Scott O'Meary wrote these articles a few years ago, 3 articles on time management that can be very helpful I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think they're kind of written for a crew advisor, but they may be even more valuable for a crew leader because they're the ones who, ostensibly they're the boots on the ground that are in charge of time management. So eat when you're tired and other backpacking time management tips from the Philmont Trail. We've got you can sleep when you're dead. I've been saying this for years, and my kids will give me a hard time about what do you mean we got to get up at this time? I'm like, no. Sleep when you're dead. There'll be plenty of time for that later. Introduction to time management.
The Wade Garrett approach, right?
Yeah. So,
sorry,
who wants to lead off with that's the homework assignments for people to go read that.
Well, since Scott wrote them, how about if Scott kind of jumps out there?
I'll kick it off. I'll do a second kickoff. And it is a little bit controversial, particularly the getting up early part, I think. I think when people hear time management on the trail or on vacation or whatever, they think like you're going to be a taskmaster and it's not going to be an enjoyable trip. But that's not the point at all. The point is to do some very minor things in order to make sure that you have the time in your schedule to do the things you want to do. And while Philmont is an awesome hiking environment, there are a lot of awesome hiking environments in the United States you can do. You're going to Philmont not only to hike, but you're there for the program. And to ensure your crew has the time and can do the programs on your itinerary, you have to manage your time on the trail to a certain degree. I call these the trilogy of time management articles that you're showing here on the screen. They're really broken out to 3 buckets. There's one bucket on tips that you can do when you land in your overnight camp to get ready, to get organized for your next day. There's another article on what you do the morning of when you're getting ready, packed up and heading out of camp. And finally, the third one is some time management techniques that you can do while you're on the trail itself. And that's really how it kicks in.
Yeah.
Most controversies you alluded to is getting up really early. You want to hike while the weather is not so hot. You want to get boots on the ground as close to first light as you can.
Yeah.
That's
So
controversial.
I think that because there are a couple people over the years who have very firmly made repeated comments in the group about, well, my crews never get up early. We sleep as long as we want, and we kind of casually get up and hit the trail, and we never miss anything. And I think those people are either dishonest or incredibly lucky, or maybe are doing like the super, super, super short treks where, you know, if you're on a strenuous or super strenuous and you're not up early, you're going to be late somewhere. But
You're not going to be fishing at fish camp if you get there late.
Oh yeah,
Stuff happens out there. Just saying.
Well, and
Sure.
the same thing with rock climbing. You know,
Right.
that's a very
Yeah.
popular one.
Yeah.
And the thing, you know, that's the beauty. I don't know the beauty, but one of the reasons for the shakedowns, preliminary training hikes, whatever you want to call them, figuring out, you know, how does your crew move, you know, and you know, if you got an appointment for horseback riding or whatever, you know, at 10 o'clock in the morning, and you got 5 miles of hiking, you know, you hopefully know how fast your crew can move and what time you got to get moving to get there to be in time for your activity.
Yeah.
Another controversial one is not eating breakfast in your camp or not having coffee, God forbid, in your camp. I know that was a tough one for me, but there's some folks that just can't move an inch without that cup of coffee, and they're not willing to wait for their coffee. They're having it in camp, so that's a little debate going on there too.
Potentially. So to me, the whole time management thing really comes down to the crew having some discipline about the required tasks that have to be completed each day and then the optional tasks. So if you get all of your required tasks done on time, then you have time available, if weather permitting and everything else permitting, to do some of the optional tasks like program at camps along the way or camps that you are scheduled to be at. If you don't, either through you know, lack of discipline, lack of planning, or something happens, you know, that keeps you from being able to, then you know, you'll lose some of the options to do some of that extra stuff. So to me, you know, the time management is about freeing up time to do cool things, even if it's just exploring around the campsite. Personally, that's something I remember as a scout and as an adult. being just incredibly interesting, just having a little time to explore, especially if you're at a staff camp. Even if you've done the program, there's still other neat things and other things that you can see and talk about if you have time. If you've burned all your time doing other things, then you wholesale miss all of that. So, to Scott's point, you go to Philmont because of the extras that Philmont makes available, because you can backpack all over. Like every state in the country has places you can backpack, even Florida, as hard as that is to believe. You just have to watch out for those logs that move and have big teeth. Yeah. So let's see. Any other time management thoughts, like big picture? Anyone else have um, any ideas on how to best communicate why we need to have time management, or what it means to you and your crews?
Well, I think it'll become pretty self-evident to the crew after the first or second day on the trail that they either are working it correctly and making things on time, or if they're not working it correctly, they're getting into their program camp late and the slots are filled up, and so forth. Also taking into consideration the weather. Either cold or particularly rain and moisture can slow down your packing up in the morning and hiking time. If that is it, you're going to have some issues there. The crews that I've been with, we typically do this kind of discussion in the evening, before bedtime, thorns and roses. Here's what tomorrow is looking like. The crew leader goes over it. They talk about, are we having breakfast in camp or not in camp, and moving it down the road. We got to be here at this time, so we need to get up at this time. So everybody kind of has a summary, at bedtime.
Yeah, that makes a big difference. Without people having clear direction in the morning, there's a lot of standing around going, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, Norm's got an interesting observation here, suggestion for the people who have to have their coffee in the morning. Drink a cold drink mix with caffeine, and I drink cold coffee on the trail. I put the coffee mix that you get from the crew advisors meeting in base camp. When they have that meeting, off on the right side of the room is a counter, like sink cabinet area, and they'll put out 3 or 4 different types of instant coffee and creamer and hot cocoa packets. And I'll get enough of those that I can do in my smart water bottle, my smellable smart water bottle. I'll put 2 packs of coffee and either 2 packs of sugar and a pack of creamer, or 2 packs of coffee and a cocoa mix. I'll put those in, shake them up, and put them with the waters or up in the bear bag. That varies from year to year, whatever the ranger says to do with them. But it all dissolves overnight and it's ready to go in the morning, and it's not hot. And I am a coffee snob at home, and I have specific things I like, and it's got to be the right temperature, and it's got to have the right stuff in it, and it's got to be the right kind of coffee. But you're not even on the trail 2 weeks, man. I mean, come on. And if you can't deal with a little bit of something different for 2 weeks, then, think about your life choices, right? So I do that on the trail so that I'm not holding the crew up in the morning. And I don't even drink it like in a campsite. Like if I'm done and have a little time, I may have some of that. But the first section of hiking while we're getting to breakfast, that's what I'm drinking instead of water. And that works out well for me. It saves time.
I'd add to that on my end. I actually did. I like coffee. I'm not a snob. I just like the caffeine. So I actually worked and played with different recipes of, creamer and sugar and coffee and so on, because instant coffee tastes horrible to me. And I came up with a pretty good one. And I did my own packets before we left, and I had it all ready to go. I just threw it in the bag, and like I've said before, I'm not sure I'd do it again because that was pounds that I didn't really need, but it was good. I mean, it had enough sugar and creamer to taste good. So,
Well, one of the tips in the article is if you get up and get moving quick enough in the morning, you
Mhm.
might make it to the staff camp and they'll give you hot coffee from the staff stash. So
All right.
keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So, I think you already mentioned not eating in the campsite. That's a hard sell sometimes because people are used to eating. Like, no, I got to eat. Like, you know what? Let's hike an hour, and then we're gonna have to stop and take a break for people to pee and whatever. Anyway, let's just get our breakfast then.
That's right. Do people eat at 4:30 in the morning anyway?
I don't.
That's what they
No,
say.
I had zero problem with that. The only concerns I've had about eating along the trail is sometimes we've had some, how do I want to say this? People who were not very cognizant of where their food went. You know, in theory, it's all going in their mouth, and in practice, half of it was ending up on the trail, and that's probably not great. But the same as to be said when you stop for lunch. Like, get it in your belly, not on the ground where you were. You know, don't leave a trail of food around that's going to attract critters. Um, but honestly, that's worked out great for the crews that I've been on that have done that.
Well, the other, what I've found, and people have said to me, it's a little bit of a mental issue. If you're eating or if you're having breakfast in camp, there's a little bit of the psychology says, well, I'll take care of doing something, rolling up my sleeping bag. I'll do it after we eat.
Mhm.
It gives them a reason to delay breaking camp.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well,
When
that's
we
a very
did
good
our
point. Yeah.
Yeah, when we did all of our stuff, our shakedowns and so on, I told them, "Hey, this is how we're going to do it, and this is why." And that's how we practice. So by the time we got to Philmont, they weren't really quick in the morning starting out, but they knew that, yeah, we're not having breakfast until we get everything put up and on the trail.
Yeah.
And I think you'll probably have more grumbling from the adults that are with you sometimes, but fortunately, I
Well,
had good.
and the other thing I found in my years of experience, the adults seem to be more, they seem to pack up and get ready faster than the youth. And there ends up to be, 15, 20 minutes. And that's enough time for me to break out screw on the top of a canister stove, heat a little water, brew the coffee, and clean up and be ready by the time they're ready to go.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't mind getting up, 10 minutes earlier if that gives me a shot at having a hot drink of coffee.
So speaking of breaking camp, I don't know if anyone can read this. If you're on a phone, you're not going to be able to read this. So I'll talk about it. It says, on your first shakedown hike, you might find that it takes your crew almost 2 hours from wake to trail. I am going to amend that and state that in my experience, we could say on your first few days on the trail at Philmont, you might find that it takes your crew almost 2 hours.
Yeah, right.
Literally, I don't think I've ever been with a crew that was out of camp quicker than an hour and 40 minutes, either of the first 2 days on the trail. And that's a shame because all the steps of breaking camp are the same, whether you're at home, on a shakedown hike, at the scout hut, in a field somewhere, or at Philmont. So it is very, very reasonable and realistic to expect that crews can practice breaking camp. And to me, that's the thing that I tell most crews when it comes down to tips for getting ready to take a crew to Philmont. Biggest one is, there's tons of great advice out there for things you should do, but on your shakedown hikes, or even without shakedown hikes, just practice breaking camp quickly. That's going to help you to avoid the hassles of being late getting out of camp, which are going to be things like um, hiking when it's hot, which is less comfortable. When it's hot, you're going to sweat more. When you sweat more, you got to drink more. That means you have to process more water, especially if you're having to treat water along the way because you don't have potable water sources. A little easier if you're going someplace that has a working chlorinator, and you don't have to treat the water. But sometimes, even if you're expecting that, it doesn't happen, and you still have to, the chlorinator isn't working. And I know Abreu, the last few times I've been through Abreu, they have had issues with their chlorinator, like different years even, and it's not very reliable. So you can't count on having easy water sources, or you may show up and it's supposed to be a running stream and it's a little bit of a drip, and the whole crew can't get water. So hiking in the heat means you're going to have to carry more water. And it's like, why even bother? Just get up early and hike before it gets that hot. So other reasons for what that you can give people for hitting the trail early, like how's it going to be better for you to hit the trail early?
Well, a big one is if you've got Baldy or one of these peaks in your future where the storms, if you're in monsoon season, those storms roll in around noon or maybe a little earlier. You're not going to make it to the top if you do not get up early for some of those places.
Yeah. Good point.
And what time is your conservation project?
Right.
Certain things that you have to meet. And back to your point about breaking camp, Jeff, several years back, I had an advisor that when they went on their shakedown hikes, not necessarily an overnight, rather than just going out and hiking 5 or 10 miles and saying, hey, that was great, they took their tents along, partially to have a heavier pack to carry, but they would actually stop, set up tents, and take them down. Practice doing that, and how quickly can we do it? Do some speed testing, if you will.
Sure. That's a great way to do it. And honestly, I don't recommend that most people use the Philmont tents. If you have backpacking tents, you have good backpacking tents, and they don't have food smells on them, then you can actually practice with the tents you're going to use at Philmont. Mm-hmm. If you need to use the Philmont tents, then use them. That's fine. And just going through the process, it may take 1 or 2 times of setting them up and taking them down to get quicker with them. But if everything else about the process you've already practiced and then it's still going to benefit you to have that practice ahead of time. Right. But I think I saw something, or maybe someone mentioned it earlier about setting stuff out the night before. I think the comment that adults tend to be quicker in the morning. I think in many cases it's because they're thinking ahead. The scouts are often just, I'm tired, or I'm yapping with my friends or whatever. And by the time they get to bed, they're not pre-planning and pre-positioning things. Before I go to bed, everything is set up in my pack to go the next morning. And I pack it with purpose. That's another thing that'll make you quicker on the trail is, everything goes in with the idea of when am I going to need it next? So the tent is the tent and sleeping gear is going at the very bottom because I'm not going to need it until night. But then say I've got breakfast, that's going to be the very top thing on the pack so that when we get an hour and a half down the trail and are ready to stop and eat breakfast, I don't have to dig through to get it. Just open the top and it's right there, So before you go to bed at night, knowing where all your things are, having it kind of pre-staged. So all you have to do for me is I organize with stuff sacks. So I take, in the morning, I'll take everything out, put the tent and sleep gear at the bottom, and then start piling, my dirty clothes, the cleaner clothes, the meals that I'm going to need, any crew gear that we're going to need when we stop, stuff that has to go in the bear bag whenever we stop somewhere. That's going to be very accessible. Planning ahead for that kind of thing is going to help you to get out earlier, but also be more efficient every time you stop as well.
The other thing is, and right along to that guideline, is crew gear is not going to change throughout the trek. You're always going to have, the 8-quart pot. You're going to have this. You're going to have that. Food changes. That you eat some of it, but we try to have the individuals carry the same stuff every day, because when it comes down out of the bear bag and it's dropped on the ground, everybody's standing around. Well, I'll take this and I'll take that, and there's always a discussion about it. But if my job is to carry the dining fly. I pick it up, I put it in my pack, and however you distribute your food, whether you distribute it a meal to a person or meals to individuals, have that decided or figured out ahead of time.
Yeah.
So that everybody's not standing around and, I gotta, I don't know what I'm going to take and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So.
Speaking of which, I got to share something that we're running out of time. I hate to take time for this, but I'm going to anyway, because I was excited today, and you guys will appreciate this. I got a package in the mail, a shipment that came in, and you see what it's wrapped in. Can anyone tell me what that reminds you of? I'm trying to move it around so you can see in the light. Here,
a meal pack.
It's like Tyvek. Or
A bear bag.
Yeah, so
looks like a bear bag.
Yeah, so this package I got in was actually an inflator pump. It was an inflator pump for a stand-up paddleboard, and then a little inflator, which, by the way, I'm going to review this pretty soon. I know some people, the little flex tail 1.2 ounce pump for your pad. I'm going to check that out and let everyone know what I think about that. But it came in what is effectively, this is a bear bag. Mm-hmm. So I cut it open very gingerly. It's got the shipping label on it still. It's like I now have a practice bear bag. But I bring that up because I carry a little ultralight Steph sack that all of my bear bag stuff goes in, like my personal items. I have a smaller one that has all my personal items that are going up in the bear bag, and then I have a larger one that has the my portion of the meals. Mm-hmm. So the way I like to do it, and I've seen crews do it a variety of different ways, but what I have suggested and has worked well for people is when you get your meals, you got to sort them and count them, to make sure that you got all the right stuff, like do an inventory right there. Go ahead and split them into meal buddy pairs. And then the buddy pairs, like we'll split them up, line them up in order of what they're going to do. And then just go, first one goes into pile A, second one, pile B, and just go through the whole thing. So it's split evenly. Like I get one, my partner gets one. I get one, my partner gets one. So then as you eat them, they go down at the same rate for both people. But then like immediately put them in your meal bag, that goes up in the bear bag, and it's labeled with your name. So there's none of that sorting. You sort it one time, period. You never have to sort again. Now it comes down to the buddy pairs. That's what works best for me. But keeping everything so you don't dump it's always fun to watch after the first morning when people put stuff in the bear bag and it gets dumped and it's, 256 individual items. And then, you get a week later, everyone has dug around and reused meal bags or figured out who had extra big Ziploc bags. And now everyone has their own. And, if you got a crew of 12 people, maybe, 15 items come out of the bear bags instead of 273 items. So that's something you can work on in shakedowns, is just organizing and bundling things together so that it's a whole lot easier and more efficient to deal with. All right. What else do we need to talk about? We're running out of time. So, all right.
Well, there's another tip, but a lot of adults won't like this, is get you a tent buddy. And
Yes.
one less thing to carry, one less thing to pack, and an extra pair of hands to drop that tent in the morning and get moving.
I've had all kinds of heated discussions with adults
Yes.
wondering why they should buddy up. Like, well, why not? Why carry
Because
that
I've been married for a quarter century and I get handsy at night. I've yet to have anyone willing to tent with me after understanding that.
Just
Yeah.
don't spoon. Yeah, that's
It's what I do. It's a subconscious thing. But anyhow, so we have exhausted our hour. Thank you, everyone, for being here on the panel. Is there anything else that you guys want to talk about? Any time management task or anything we missed on the trek selection before we cut out of here?
Friday, 9 a.m.
Yeah, that's your deadline. That's
Mountain
Philmont time.
Mountain time.
Mountain time.
Yeah.
Mountain time. If you ain't got your truck picked out yet, you guys, for lack of better terms, you're in trouble. You should have them in by now.
Yeah, that's good to know. I might have, before talking to Everett, I might have waited because it's the deadline. But no, just go ahead and get it in. So thanks everyone for being here. Scott, I know you had another event, another scouting event that kept you from being here on time. We do appreciate you cutting out of that and getting to us efficiently. Glad to have you part of this. Darrel, thank you. Rob, thank you. Sal, yes, thank you too, Sal. We love you. We're happy you're here. Thanks for all the people who left comments out there, Norm and Mark and anyone else that left anything. We really appreciate you. And we will be back on the second Tuesday of March at 9 p.m. Eastern time on all the different places that we normally are. So
March
And
12th.
And take care of your Valentine tomorrow.
Oh, I got to go.
Yeah.
Anybody not ready?
Icon.
Back on.